Making a video. Yay. Anyway, fly over a room, and it's got too many people in it, so I can't get in. It's kind of a bummer. You know, you feel like responding because people say stupid things, and you can't do it. Because there's too many people in the room who just put their icon up for no good reason, pretty much. Anyway. What do I want to talk about? Alright, so this stupid thick guy who I really do detest, you know, he keeps ragging, you know, and he thinks it's, you know, I'm not allowed to use the word it's logical. Once you establish some definitions of value, and I'm just saying that, yeah. And so the argument is what seems like it's accurate as a statement of truth describing reality. The statement that it matters, it's different in a significant positive or negative way, and I mean negative in the negative number kind of sense, that you need a positive number to compensate for the negative number just to get to the neutral zero, so it's truly negative. You know, that we can know that two universes where one is completely people or animals suffering, Earth for example, just covered with suffering happening all the time, being digested all the time, alive, and one without that. And you can see the positive, negative difference, you can see the relative difference. Now, the statement saying that those two universes are different in a value sense, I don't think it's a refutable statement of truth. But this asshole says it is. He says that's just made up. That's just nonsense. That's just some sort of emotional thing. That there is no difference between something suffering and something having a nail shoved in out of its eye all day and something eating cupcakes all day. That those two circumstances in and of themselves are indistinguishable in any true sense, in any accurate description of reality sense. And I just think that's idiotic. Who possibly can say, well, look, if we're going to say there's a real value in the universe, that would be it. The difference between a nail in your eye and eating a cupcake, the sensations that are commensurate with that, are fundamentally different. They're identifiably different, and they're different in this significant positive and negative way. One state is an improved state, one state is unimproved in a significantly negative way. That's outrageous to this guy thinks that's a religious statement. Because, yeah, logically it's all based on that. I'll concede. If that isn't true, there's no logic to be done. There's no rational conversation about anything called an ethic, in my opinion. If there's no real difference between people enduring Holocaust harm or people enjoying luxuries of the rich and famous, if there's no difference between those conditions in any significant, meaningful value way, then you know, why would you have a conversation about ethics? It's idiotic. There's no logic to be done, in my opinion, if you don't identify something that's truly valuable. And if all you're going to talk about is what you emotionally care about, well, that's just rubbish. And emotional reactions are based on what you think. So let's not pretend that we aren't emotionally stimulated by understanding, because we are. I didn't feel anything for animals until I learned what animals were. Then I felt. So you have to identify the thing before you can feel for the thing. And you have to accurately identify it. And if you're inaccurately identifying it, then you can't feel anything. So again, it's just idiotic to say that our feelings aren't based on some sort of logic or knowledge that informs us. Sorry, let's see if I can get something like hearing back. What the truth is. So I'm going to jump to the head, see what they're saying.
Saying that I'm muddying the waters, but I think it's the opposite. I think Harry.
Let's see if I can get in here. I don't want to start a new one. I want to try again. Ooh, looks like progress.
Yeah, ethics is what is conducive to well-being and happiness, like Sam Harris does. And by the way, it sounds as though you've read Sam Harris, Vic, because all of your statements seem to be similar to Sam Harris.
Yes, I've read The Moral Landscape, and I still have questions for Sam Harris because it's unclear to me how far he takes that, how he would say balance the reduction of suffering now versus the reduction of suffering in the future. Because if you're interested in the future, if that's top priority, reducing overall suffering in the future, then you can justify some pretty atrocious things, right? Even if people are going, rounding up 1,000 people against their will to perform torturous medical experiments on them to expedite the cure for cancer, right? If you have good reason to believe that that's going to work, right?
Well, you just said it was going to work. You just said it was going to work. So yes, you've just eradicated cancer. You've done something.
He's about to bomb the whole room. But
you've done something. Well, look, you're the one doing all this rag talking. I'm just trying to make an answer to your comment, which I think is wrong.
That he only focuses on well-being. I guess that he doesn't really does he include happiness in well-being? He doesn't really, does he?
No, he starts with the premise, okay, look, can we
can't
identify...
hear you, Gary, for some reason.
Yeah, right, again.
Might be a good thing. But...
Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
I can speak of your point, Dex, but I think this other guy wants to chime in.
Me? Or Dex?
No, Gary, I think.
Well, I don't know. If no one can hear me, there's no point, right?
Gary, we can't hear you.
Well, I don't know whose fault that is. Yeah, well, I didn't mute me.
Oh, dear.
I'm not muted.
Yeah, this is about to turn into a screaming shitstorm. It's about to...
Is this like the Christian Hillbilly the First?
Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you.
It's downward. It's downward.
What a cunt. Little weasel. Little tiny dick. Little tiny dick. Little tiny dick.
Oh, just kidding.
Fucking cunts. Alright, well, I guess my mic doesn't work.
I don't know.
Testing.
We can't hear you.
Well,
Gary.
what am I going to do about that? You want to tell me what I do about it? I'll be interested to hear.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
yes,
whatever.
Okay,
he looks like Robert Plant.
Once he fixes his mic,
Yeah, I think he has to log back in, try again.
Yeah.
If that's really good. Because he'll usually go on cam, but...
Jesus, gotta log back in again. I think there's something else wrong. Mute. Taskbar sound. Digital audio. Audio. Microphone. SoundMax video audio. Logitech mic. I think that might fix it. Oh, fuck you. I don't need the plug-in. Cunt. Alright, anyway. I guess I'll come back to this video when I'm actually talking. Yeah.
But I didn't become a vegan until like a couple of decades later, right?
Yeah,
so
well, I don't know. Why did it take 2 decades?
It wasn't... Because at the time, when I was a teenager, I valued my own personal gratification in the taste of meat.
Well, I'm just saying, but I'm just saying,
the reduction
I valued it more, right? Because you didn't value the thing at all. I mean, how could you possibly value it more in the sense that I would argue that you had to have in some way trivialized it to be able to think that your own gratification was worth torturing something for. I mean, even little kids know I'm not worth torture. I mean, they really do.
No, I recognize the severity of what was happening. I just, at the time, I valued my own,
Well, you still do. You still do. You still do. You still value your own preferences. All you're saying is that one of my preferences has been edified by rubbish, by some nonsensical, dogmatic, silly theory that suffering matters when you really don't think it does. I mean, that's the illogic here. You have a fundamental belief system that says, no, just let me finish the 30 seconds. Your fundamental theory is that it doesn't have any reality. There's no real difference between somebody having a nail shoved in and out of their eyes for eternity and somebody enjoying the sensations of eating a cupcake for eternity. You don't believe there's any actual, factual, real value difference between those two circumstances.
No, that's not true at all. There is an absolute difference between those two qualitative
I mean a value difference. I said the word value.
But see, this is where you're kind of equivocating. So
how?
when you're talking about value,
I'm talking about negative numbers and positive numbers, that kind of value, no other kind. So let me just narrow the definition of value right now. I'm talking about value in the sense of a deficit, like you dig a hole, the ground is the neutral, the above is the plus. Okay, I'm talking about a real scale that has real negatives and real positives, not one made out of mush. I'm talking about real numerical value, negative and positive.
Totally accept that. And I have no disagreement there. There is suffering, a pencil in the eye has less intrinsic value than the taste of a cupcake.
Not less. No. I just said negative number. Okay, it's not less. Yeah. It's a deficit.
Fine.
A negative.
Okay. Yes. As a negative.
Right, okay, if you believe that that's an intrinsic truth, then why can't you believe like Sam Harris does? He gives you the example. Sam Harris explains, would you like to vomit every 5 minutes? What if you had a condition where you had to vomit every 5 minutes? That condition would be awful, terrible, miserable,
but do you know why?
Excruciatingly uncomfortable.
It's
why? What do you mean? It's not because of something besides the fact that the sensations suck.
It was a rhetorical question. The reason that I don't want to vomit and stuff is because I don't extrinsically value. I extrinsically value my own well-being.
It doesn't have anything to do with intrinsic. It has to do with the sensations themselves, and that's clearly what Sam Harris is saying. The sensations themselves. We're not talking about some people. No. The qualification of the discussion. Look, Sam Harris even did this. We're not talking about psychotics who enjoy. We're talking about sensations as commonly felt by sentient beings. Okay, so don't bring up the psychopaths and the rest of this crap. Let's keep the conversation to something a little bit more rational. Okay, generally speaking, the biological organism works this way. It has negative sensations, and they're negative for a damn good reason. They're obnoxious and repulsive for a good reason because it's a motivating tool like a whip. It is the invention of the whip. The whip would have no power without the fucking sensitive flesh to fucking hurt.
Do you think I have some sort of obligation, some sort of objective duty to care that an ISIS
No, care is the wrong word. No, you have a logical duty, okay? Logical imperative. It is indicated by logic once you've established the existence of the value system, okay, that you neutralize or gain value, that you clean deficits. Deficits don't matter what person they're in. They happen as two individuals. They happen as actual events in the universe. And the obligation, logically, is to clean up the mess. Okay? It doesn't matter where the mess is. If dioxin is in my backyard or dioxin is in your backyard, it doesn't matter. If I clean it up out of your backyard, I've done just as much good as if I clean it up out of my backyard.
Right, so there's the part where you said clean up the mess. That's the part where you fly off the rails.
The negative is the mess. The negative. I said it clearly. The value statement is that there is negative. Negative is the imperative that it must be improved. It must be improved. It must be improved.
When a soldier stabs an ISIS savage piece of shit in the eye with a knife, okay?
That's not what we're talking about. No, sorry. Straw man, scapegoat.
That the ISIS savage is experiencing negative intrinsic value.
Scapegoat. No, this is the wrong subject. Sorry. We're not talking about conditional value. We're talking about the establishment of the value matrix. And in the end, it's about how much in the end value. The end game, it's a game of chess, okay? You count how many pieces are killed. You do not count or worry about individuals. You worry about collectives. You worry about how many get killed, not which ones get killed.
But if I was to apply your logic, then I would be obligated to clean up the mess of that ISIS.
Yeah, whatever. You'd be. I don't want to get into a convoluted, stupid thought experiment that has nothing to do with the fact that all I need to do is establish what the fucking golden egg is here. Okay, and the threat is some virus that eats the eggs, and so that's the negative. We got to stop, and that's all this is about. It's just about the idea that
if I'm using
any metaphor that just creates the idea that there's positive and there's negative, and the idea is to reduce the amount of negative.
I don't mind inflicting Ebola on ISIS.
Well, I don't care what you don't mind doing. I really don't care. Because if you're not going to stop ISIS, if you're not going to stop them, and you're actually not going to improve the circumstance, so imposing pain, half winning a war is the worst thing you can do. Okay? So to argue to me that you're going to stop ISIS by shoving a few nails in a few ISIS eyes is like ISIS thinking they're going to stop America by cutting a few heads off. They're not going to stop the military-industrial complex by whacking a few fucking heads off. It's a waste of suffering.
What was that logic?
Don't hog the chat. Let other people speak.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to add. Well, go ahead.
The one thing that I would disagree with Vic is, look, I mean, we don't want to add more evil to the world. So...
Look, the big contention is that Vic doesn't think this is a game we're all caught up in, okay? Like a chessboard, all the pieces, all the pawns are equal. It doesn't matter what pawn gets captured. It doesn't matter what pawn gets killed or crushed or burned or drowned or whatever the fucking horror is that's going to take place. It just doesn't matter. We're all stuck in a reality where what we do is going to affect what happens to other sentient beings, and our obligation is to maximize our performance, and a maximum performance is more pluses than negatives, period. It's not complicated.
Let me answer Dex. So Dex, I understand what you're saying. And yes, if there was a button where I could press, if I could press a button to just blink ISIS out of existence, and that was it, then ethically, I think that would be the preferable solution, right? But I'm saying that I am not intrinsically obligated to look at the world through an ethical lens, right? Right? There's no obligation for me to value ethical principles.
If you believe value is real, if you believe value is real, if you believe value is real and logic, how could you possibly, if you say value is real, then how could you say there's no logical imperative?
It's not a logical imperative. It's an ethical imperative.
No, logic. I'm just saying I don't care about any ethics. How could ethics mean? Ethics doesn't mean anything. The argument is it's a value equation. Explain to me. You've established the existence of the value. The numbers will do the math, okay? Not the plus sign and the equal sign. That's the logic is the plus sign and the equal sign. The fucking numbers do the math. So it matters what number you put in the slot. So you either put a -3 plus 5 equals +2. I mean, it's, the logic is the imperative. So the imperative is in the logic of doing the math. The math says after the equal sign, you have to have a positive number. The more positive, the better.
The only thing that we can value is the intrinsic values. Like, we can't value certain principles in and of themselves. Well,
I'm not saying you can do that if you want to. I'm saying that in the end game, all that's really going to matter is the world a better place for your existence? That's all that's going to matter. Did you maximize your potential? Did you maximize your potential and create the biggest plus sign number you could out of your life?
That presupposes that has value, though.
I just said the presupposition is in the negative word, negative, and in the very concept of negative numbers only being compensated by positive numbers. It's in the very function of math itself that it is negative, it is below grade and above grade. So it is a heaven-hell situation, whether you like it or not. It's a fact. There's a plus and a negative logically as a premise. okay, there's this dividing line of the neutral zero, and it's just a fact that negative is bad. Negative is a condition you can't sustain, and positive is the condition you must always improve. Higher numbers are better in the positive condition, lower numbers in the negative condition. That's a fact of the logic.
No, better if given a particular goal, right?
No goals involved. No, I'm sorry. The math is the goal. The goal is less negative, more positive. A net balance.
Let me give you a little bit of a thought experiment. Imagine there's a God.
Another
right?
pile
There's
of
a
crap.
God, and imagine there's a God, and he has the ability to create two universes, right? One universe is status quo, where people can experience suffering and pleasure and stuff like that. The other world is all bliss, no ability to experience suffering, right? Now, his intent, right, his goal in what he wants to do is to figure out, to run a sociological experiment where he figures out what would happen if you create a world where people can inflict harm, to see if that actually creates some sort of equilibrium at some point where people become collaborative. So it's a sociological experiment.
Well, the very ethics of doing experiments on sentient beings when you don't know what the outcome is going to be and you could potentially torture them, that already has an ethical zero. I mean, that's an ethical negative number already. The very idea of doing experiments, casual experiments on sentient beings. So where's this thought experiment go anyway? It's no point. Yes, I vote for the bliss, okay? I vote for anything that is neutral or positive.
Yes, I know, but what you're not getting is that it would be irrational and illogical with respect to his goal. His goal
is irrelevant. The goal is the logic of your premise. The premise establishes your obligation, just like chess establishes your obligation, okay? You find out the rules of the game, you find out what the pieces can move, and the objective is in the nature of the game itself. My pieces don't die. Don't let my pieces die. That's the bad condition, is my pieces dying.
The game. You don't discover rules.
Well, I'm just saying, you're making it. I'm just saying that you're saying that there's something illogical about my progression of my understanding. No, just let me finish. You're making all these fucking accusations in every one of these fucking rooms about how I have committed a trespass against logic, and I find it fucking offensive because I haven't. I don't need your rubbish emotional considerations. I don't need the rest of your considerations because I already know the kernel of value is in the sentient experience. And if you waste or squander suffering, that's a sin, quote unquote, ethically. Okay, that's a crime ethically. So if you waste it, you squander it, that's the crime, period.
Listen to me. I'm not saying that your argument is illogical and irrational. It's perfectly
I am recording this, so
yeah, good. And I hope you actually go back and listen.
I hope you go back and listen to yourself.
Please let me finish, Jesus. What I'm taking issue, if you actually go back and listen to what I said, what I'm taking issue is when you call our argument, like let's say an unethical person, to be illogical and stupid and unintelligent and irrational.
Well, I'm just saying the premise of your previous arguments was, okay, there's no absolute negative value.
I don't agree with that.
I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. In previous arguments, yes, you did.
I don't necessarily accept that. I just don't see any moral obligation that comes after it.
Again, well, the word moral is stupid. So if you use the word like logical imperative, then maybe you could see it, okay? So if you get rid of stupid words like moral and ethical and just use words like value equation and understand that the nature of the mathematics itself require you to go towards positives and away from negatives. That's the very nature of the mathematics.
But if you place value on certain principles...
Yes, the quadrant, you have to be in the X quadrant. You can't be in the Y quadrant or the W quadrant or the E quadrant. You have to be in this positive quadrant to have done productive work in your existence, okay? That's the definition of productive. So you want to pretend that it doesn't matter whether you get a -10 or a +10 on a test. You think it doesn't matter whether you get all the answers right or you get all the answers wrong? No, it does matter, and it's the very nature of mathematics itself that having a negative score would be bad.
depends what the goal is.
Again, there's
right?
no goal. The goal is to maximize efficiency. That's
There's
not
no goal, and the goal
complicated.
is to-
That's the goal. More positive, less negative.
Did you hear what you just said? They said there's no goal. The goal is this. So clearly there is a goal.
No,
You've
the
established
goal is in the simple fucking definition of the value. Once you have established the existence of a true negative, true bad, and true positive, true good, you have established the goal. The goal is written by the premise. The existence of the value establishes the goal. Once there are golden eggs, once there are golden eggs or gooses that lay golden eggs, there is an imperative to collect them and cherish them and take care of them and feed them properly.
No, there's no imperative there.
I just said, yes, there is. There is in the word negative and bad. So again, you want to see, you just contradicted yourself. You said there's no imperative, and that's the same thing as saying it doesn't exist. To say that negative doesn't have a reality and doesn't create an imperative is silly. It would evacuate negative of its meaning.
Gary, saying that there's no imperative to reduce suffering in others is not the same as rejecting the fact that other people suffer. They're two totally different things.
I didn't say you rejected the fact that other people suffer. I'm saying that you've ruined the word suffering because you've taken meaning out of it. You've ruined the word negative because you pretend that negative doesn't mean negative. It doesn't mean a deprivated, an unsatisfactory condition. Negative to you does not mean an unsatisfactory condition. If it's a satisfactory condition, it's in the word satisfactory and unsatisfactory. You could use even those two words. You can use efficiency terminology. You can use productive versus destructive. Those words indicate the fact that there is this nature of this negative is a real thing, not a pretend thing. It's a real negative. Okay, and once I establish the existence of the real negative, the imperative is to minimize it.
Gary, when you look up the word suffering in the dictionary, do you see the word value?
I'm not going to argue this. Okay, I'm not going to argue this. I'm not going to argue that. No. Okay, good night. Okay, I'll just leave because I'm just not going to play the semantics game. Yes, I'm sure there are fucking dictionary definitions that when they use the word suffering, they talk about value-laden words. They talk about bad and negative and hurtful and harmful and all kinds of negative fucking terminology is used to describe what the fuck suffering is. And again, you want to pretend that it doesn't matter, even if the dictionary definition was badass negative, the worst fucking negative in the fucking universe, even if that was the fucking definition, you'd still say negative doesn't mean anything.
Dictionaries only define uses, they do not define meaning.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're words describing words, and I'm just saying that the concept of good and bad is what is being rejected by the nihilist. The concept of negative and positive is being rejected by the nihilist, and therefore, in my opinion, they have destroyed the most valuable concept in the universe. They have broken the words that mean the most. Of all the words in our language, those are the most important words, and that's the fucking bullshit that they're pulling here, and they're claiming they're logical when it's completely illogical to sit there and rely on emotional reactions to indicate whether I should do something. Whether I like Chinese food or don't like Chinese food is some sort of philosophical position. No, that's an idiot's position. This is an idiotic way to talk about ethics when you don't consider the reality of ethics, which is the only valuable thing in the goddamn universe. Is the welfare of a feeling goddamn thing, and everything else is peripheral to that fact.
The type of value that I'm disputing is not the experiential value that you're talking about, which is about pleasantness and suffering. I'm rejecting the concept of importance value.
Well, what's the point? Importance value. Oh, so it's the unimportant suffering. Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that doesn't make any fucking sense. So again, this is just such bullshit semantics. Bullshit semantics.
There's no
good night.
Objective
Good night,
for me to
Harriet.
value
Good
my
night, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. Just too fucking silly. Anyway, so that was fun. But there's really no point, right? I mean, there's no why. You know, this is why I stopped watching Flowers videos. I'm just saying, why have conversations with these imbeciles? I mean, you know, somebody accused me of you know, my what the fuck. They said something like, well, why are you talking about the atheist community when this has nothing to do with atheism? It has everything to do with goddamn atheism. It has everything to do with the fact that taking responsibility for reality, okay, there is no God, there is no purpose, there is no intrinsic function. We have to understand our function. We have to understand what we're doing here and what's happening because we are here and what we're doing. And you know, this nihilist bullshit is just so fucking aberrant and psychotic. It's this fucking, it's the truther shit. It's the fucking anarchist shit. It is just so fucking vacuous nonsense to sit there and say, oh yeah, reality is really that nothing matters and we can all do whatever the fuck we want because it's just about whether or not it gives you a chill or not, or gives you goosebumps. That's how we decide philosophically what means something. I mean, it's just a fucking infantile conversation to be having on the fucking internet. But yeah, the point is that even religious kooks get it. I mean, that's why they invent heaven and hell, is because they understand what is really valuable here. And it's about goddamn being tortured and not being tortured, having some sort of relief or comfort, having a soft bed to sleep in, and all that kind of bullshit. All right, so all that soft, cushy, puffy, wonderful, cloudy heaven isn't for no reason. And that thorny, fucking smelly, hot, rocky, angular, nasty hell isn't for no reason. It's because this is the real value. And at least Christians can understand that. So at least we have some hope of having a conversation with them. But having conversations with these fucking morons who can't sit there and figure out that suffering sucks, and it sucks in some sort of real way, not some sort of fake way. I mean, fuck this conversation. Too stupid. Too fucking goddamn stupid for adults to have to argue about the nature of suffering, and then for these idiots to sit there and tell me, I'm a vegan, like it means something. You don't respect their suffering. You think it's a fantasy that doesn't mean anything really, and that it creates no logical imperative to stop their suffering. No, it's an emotional imperative. I mean, what nonsense. Emotions should dictate whether or not we act. God, that's just so stupid. And these assholes will sit there and insult other people's logic? Fuck. When they're sitting here jumping to these fucking extremist positions to sit there and evacuate the meaning of basic words like positive and negative? They're only, and that, why? Why are they doing this? Oh, I understand why. It's because they don't like the burdens it imposes. They have to admit that they basically do suck, and that even if they were the greatest person on earth, they'd still suck, because it's so hard to take on the responsibility to know that every indulgence you take, every little indulgence was at the expense of something. The resources could have been spent better. They're starving kids in China, all that kind of... They don't like the fact that the burdens of having a really, truly productive existence are enormous. And our potential as individuals, we all fall so fucking goddamn short. And they just don't like that little bit of an ego deficit. They have to take a little shot and realize they're fucking cunt assholes. But these guys are triple assholes because they're even evading the decency. They don't even have the goddamn decency to just fess up and say, that's why life is untenable. It's a game you just can't play, because the amount of wasted suffering on this goddamn planet is obscene. The amount of intervention needed at this very moment. Right now, you could walk the streets of Bangladesh with, you know, $100, and you could fucking make 100 people deliriously happy by giving them a week's wages. Right now, you could do that. That's how depraved and disgusting this world is, and that's just human beings. Imagine this, the pennies you could spend to spare animals grief and harm and suffering. This planet sucks. And assholes who just can't recognize that this simple truth, you know, that this game is bigger than them. They just want to be selfish cunts, so they've rationalized an excuse to think that everything is just a personal equation, and they don't have to take any responsibility for the 7 billion other human beings that exist, the who knows how many will exist in the future, a preposterously huge number, and we owe them something besides deficit spending. You know, and then all the fucking animals. Untold grief and harm. Fuck. Anyway. Enough of the video. This little weasel too, this stupid fucking douchebag. Oh, he's just such a little fucking 5-year-old. Anyway, word games, fucking word games. Yeah.